Okay, ready to have your mind blown? Imagine a world, get this, with no trees at all.
Really makes you think.
Right. But here's the thing. Sharks were already cruising around in the ocean
Yeah,
millions of years before even the very first tree sprouted up.
it's true.
We're talking way, way back in time, like deep time.
Deep time.
And that's what this deep dive is all about. Diving deep, I should say.
Right into it.
Into sharks existed before trees. A journey through time.
That's our guide.
This book, it's not just about, how cool sharks are.
It's more than that.
It's about using their crazy long history to learn how life can survive anything.
Adapt and survive.
Adapt and survive. You ready for this?
Absolutely. It's a wild ride.
So paint us a picture.
Okay.
How much older are sharks than trees? The book throws out some pretty big numbers.
Oh, yeah. It's a massive difference.
Massive.
Sharks, they've been around for more than 400 million years.
Wow.
But trees, they only popped up, think about this, around 350 million years ago.
Okay, so back in the Devonian period, sharks were already swimming around.
They were there.
Back when the continents were totally different.
Uh-huh.
And pretty much everything lived in the ocean.
Right.
That's even before the dinosaurs. Can you believe it?
It's amazing.
What was that world like?
So the Devonian period was a really interesting time.
Interesting how?
Well, picture these huge, shallow seas,
Okay.
but they're filled with these, bizarre creatures.
Bizarre how?
You've got trilobites. They're, scuttling around on the seafloor.
Okay.
Then you've got these giant armored fish
Uh-huh.
just, patrolling everywhere.
Trolling.
And you've got these early corals just starting to form reefs.
So it was like an alien world.
It really was a totally different world.
And sharks were already there.
Already thriving.
Adapted and ready to go.
Perfectly adapted.
So crazy. They did so well in that crazy world. What was their secret?
Well, the book mentions their skeletons.
Their skeletons. What about them?
They're made of cartilage.
Okay, is that important?
Oh, yeah. Huge advantage.
How so?
Well, think about it. Cartilage is way lighter and more flexible than bone.
So what?
Well, that makes sharks super agile in the water.
Makes sense.
They're, incredibly efficient swimmers.
Really efficient.
Yeah, they can, dart around, turn on a dime, accelerate super fast.
Wow.
It gives them a real edge, whether they're hunting or trying not to be hunted.
I see. So they were like the sports car of the ocean.
Exactly. Not like a clunky truck, that's for sure.
Ooh, no clunky trucks.
No way.
But there's more to it than just that.
There's more.
They've also got those, electrifying senses, right?
You mean the ampullae of Lorenzini?
Yeah, that's it.
That's their secret weapon?
I've heard about those. Tell me more.
Okay, so these sensory organs,
Yeah.
they're only found in sharks and a few other cartilaginous fish.
So no one else has them.
Pretty unique.
Pretty unique.
And you know what they do?
Tell me.
They can actually detect the electrical fields.
The what?
Electrical fields?
Where do those come from?
Okay, so whenever a prey animal moves, its muscles,
Yeah.
they generate these tiny electrical fields.
Tiny electrical fields.
Yeah, and sharks can sense them,
Seriously.
even if the prey is buried in sand or hiding in the dark.
So it's like they have sixth sense
You could say that.
that lets them see in the dark.
It's like X-ray vision for hunting.
So cool.
Isn't that amazing?
Wait, hold on. So they actually sense electricity? How is that even possible?
Well, it's because of these ampullae. They're basically these tiny pores,
Tiny pores.
but they're filled with this jelly-like stuff that can conduct electricity.
So that's how they pick up on those muscle twitches.
Exactly. It's super sensitive.
It's like they're wired to the ocean's electrical grid.
It's a pretty amazing adaptation.
So lightweight skeleton, super senses, anything else that helped them become the top dogs?
Well, their teeth are pretty important too.
Okay, what about their teeth?
Shark teeth. They're constantly being replaced
Really?
throughout their whole lives.
Their whole lives?
Yeah, so they always have a sharp set ready to go.
Like built-in tooth fairy situation?
You could say that.
Wow, and I guess their bodies are pretty streamlined too.
Oh yeah, super streamlined. Plus those powerful tails.
That makes them like super swimmers.
Exactly. They can cover huge distances without even breaking a sweat.
So they were basically built for success right from the start.
It seems that way.
But the book also says they survived some crazy extinction events.
Oh yeah. The ultimate test.
Those are like end of the world events.
Pretty much.
That's got to be more than just good luck, right?
You're definitely onto something there.
So how did they make it through all that?
Well, they've been through some rough times.
Like what kind of rough times?
Well, like the Permian Triassic extinction.
What happened then?
It wiped out over 90% of marine species.
90%. That's almost everything.
It was a mass extinction event.
And they survived that.
They did.
And what about the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction? That's the one that killed the dinosaurs?
Yep, that one too.
Seriously?
Sharks are survivors.
That's insane. How is that even possible?
It's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And the answer is probably their adaptability.
Adaptability, what do you mean?
Well, think about it. During these extinction events,
Yeah.
the environment was changing like
So
crazy.
fast.
Yeah. And a lot of species just couldn't handle it.
You couldn't adapt.
Exactly. But sharks, they were able to adjust.
They rolled with the punches.
Exactly.
So we're still figuring out how they did it.
We are. It's a bit of a mystery.
But we've got some ideas.
We do.
What kind of ideas?
Well, one theory is that they can handle a wider range of temperatures.
Okay, like water temperature.
Water temperatures and salinities.
So they weren't as picky.
Not as picky.
And they probably had a pretty diverse diet, too.
That could be another factor.
So they weren't relying on just one food source.
Right. And they also reproduce relatively quickly.
So they could bounce back faster.
Exactly.
So it wasn't just about their physical features.
It was more than that.
It was about being able to change with the times.
That's a key part of their success.
It's like they had this evolutionary strategy
Yeah.
to be flexible, to be resilient.
Instead of just being specialized.
And that's how they've thrived for millions of years.
Through all those changes on Earth.
It's amazing.
It really is.
So they were tough, that's for sure.
Tough and adaptable.
And they could roll with the changes.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder how these ancient sharks fit into everything.
Yeah, how they impacted their ecosystems.
Because they're at the top, right?
Oh, yeah, they're apex predators.
Apex predator. So what does that even mean for the rest of the ocean?
It means they play a really important role.
Important how?
Well, they're like the top of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
So they help keep all the other populations in check.
I'd like balanced.
Exactly, the delicate balance.
Okay, so let's get practical.
Okay.
What does this mean for someone like me?
You mean someone who enjoys a good seafood dinner?
Haha, yeah, exactly. What's the connection between sharks and a healthy ocean?
It's all connected.
Connected how?
Okay, so when you have a healthy shark population,
Yeah,
it means the whole ocean ecosystem is in balance.
got it.
They keep things in check.
How so?
Well, they prey on the sick or weaker animals,
Makes sense.
so it prevents diseases from spreading.
Okay.
And it makes sure that only the strongest genes are passed
And
on.
a whole ecosystem becomes stronger.
More resilient, more diverse.
It's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Exactly. Everyone benefits
Everyone.
from the tiniest plankton to the biggest whales.
And us.
And of course, us humans.
We depend on the ocean for everything.
For food, for recreation, even the air we breathe.
So it's not just about sharks being cool.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's about the whole picture.
The big picture.
But the book also talks about how sharks are facing some tough times these days.
It's true, unfortunately.
What are the biggest threats they're up against?
Well, a lot of it comes down to human activities.
Like what?
Well, overfishing is a major problem.
Overfishing? How so?
Sharks often get caught as bycatch.
Bycatch, what's that?
It means they're accidentally caught in fishing nets.
Oh, I see.
Or sometimes they're targeted for their fins.
For their fins.
Yeah, it's used in shark fin soup.
That's terrible. So we're basically messing with that delicate balance.
We are, and the consequences can be pretty bad.
How bad?
Well, when shark populations decline,
Yeah.
it could have a ripple effect.
Ripple effect, what do you mean?
It can impact the whole ecosystem.
Give me an example.
Okay, so let's say shark numbers go down.
Okay.
The populations of their prey, they can explode,
Okay.
which means they might overgraze kelp forests or coral reefs.
So it's like pulling a thread on a sweater.
Yeah, and eventually the whole thing unravels.
What about other stuff like habitat destruction?
And that's a factor too.
Pollution,
Definitely.
climate change.
All of those things are impacting sharks.
That's a lot for them to deal with.
It is, and sharks are slow growing, and they mature late.
So they're more vulnerable to these threats.
They are.
But here's where it gets really cool. The book calls sharks living time capsules.
It's a great way to put it.
Like they're giving us a glimpse into the past.
Millions of years into the past.
What can we learn from them about ancient ecosystems?
A lot, actually.
Like what?
Well, sharks have seen it all.
They've seen millions of years of Earth's history.
Exactly, and their DNA holds clues.
Clues to what?
Clues to ancient migrations,
Okay.
climate shifts, evolutionary adaptation.
Wow, so scientists can use that information
They can, by studying their genetics
to put together a bigger picture.
of how life on Earth has changed over time.
They're like swimming history books.
It's an amazing way to think about it.
So what kind of specific things can scientists learn?
Well, for example,
Yeah.
they can analyze the chemicals in shark teeth
Okay.
to figure out things like water temperatures.
From millions of years ago.
Exactly, and salinities of ancient oceans.
Yeah. So they can actually tell what the ocean was like back then.
They can get a pretty good idea.
And what about fossilized teeth?
Those are great for studying their diets
So we can see what they were eating.
and how their hunting strategies have changed over time.
Wow, that's incredible.
It helps us understand how ecosystems responded to change.
So studying sharks can teach us about the history of our planet.
And maybe even help us predict the future.
The future of the ocean.
Exactly. The more we know about the past,
Yeah.
the better we can prepare for the future.
And sharks are a big part of that story.
A vital part.
It's amazing to think that these ancient creatures
Yeah.
can teach us so much.
They hold so much knowledge.
And that makes their conservation even more important.
Absolutely. It's not just about saving one species.
It's about saving the whole ocean.
The whole ecosystem.
And ultimately, it's about saving ourselves.
Our future depends on it.
It's pretty awe-inspiring to think about how long they've been around.
It really is.
Next time I see a tree,
All right.
I'll definitely be thinking about the sharks that swam before it existed.
It's a powerful image.
It really shows the power of nature.
The power to adapt and thrive.
Even when things get tough.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into sharks,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing to remember
Yeah.
is that sharks are more than just scary predators.
More than meets the eye.
They're ancient. They're fascinating.
Yeah.
And they play a crucial role in keeping our oceans healthy.
They're like the guardians of the ocean.
You could say that.
And their story, it's
Yeah.
a story of evolution
Of interconnectedness.
and the importance of conservation.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, it really makes you think about things differently.
It does, doesn't it?
Sharks have been through so much,
Yeah.
so many changes, like huge events, and they're still here.
It's pretty remarkable.
Such an incredible story of survival.
A testament to life's resilience.
Life finds a way, right?
It really does.
Even when things are like super challenging.
Even when it seems impossible.
That ability to adapt, to evolve.
That's something we can all learn from.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of sharks,
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
what's the one big takeaway?
The one thing you want our listeners to remember.
Yeah, if they only remember one thing from this whole deep dive.
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
I think the most important thing is this. Sharks are so much more than just these, scary predators.
There's more to them than that.
Way more.
They're ancient, they're fascinating.
And they're crucial for keeping our oceans healthy.
It's like they're the guardians of the ocean.
I like that, guardians of the ocean.
Their story is a story of, evolution.
Yeah.
And how everything is connected.
Interconnected.
And why conservation is so important.
We really summed it up beautifully.
It's been awesome exploring the world of sharks.
It has.
From their ancient beginnings.
Way back when.
To their role in our oceans today.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
We hope this deep dive
Yeah.
has given our listeners
Ugh.
a new appreciation for these incredible creatures.
A new perspective.
Maybe the next time you see a shark,
Yeah.
whether it's in a documentary,
Or, hopefully, in the wild,
you'll see them in a whole new light.
there's a newfound respect.
And maybe even be inspired to learn more about them.
And to support efforts to protect them.
Absolutely, they deserve our protection.
They do.
Well, that's it for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep asking questions.
and keep diving deep.